Hi everyone, welcome back to Kat's Creation Studio. I'm Kat, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a elegant black and white monochromatic welcome wreath that would be perfect for a housewarming gift for someone who's moving into a new home, or for someone who's just looking for something to put in between all those seasonal changes as we stay consistent with our everyday wreaths for June. So if this is your first time joining, welcome. I'd love to know where you're from. And if you love this design, want to replicate it once you get all your supplies together, the easiest way to save this tutorial is just to click the share button. That will post this video to your page, and then that way you have all those tutorials available whenever you're ready to craft your own. Also, YouTube subscribers, if you'd like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, if you can click the subscribe bell in the upper right hand corner, you can go ahead and by subscribing, you get notified whenever we upload a new video, which, just like this one, is from an earlier Facebook Live. So if you'd like to participate in an actual live, talk to me, ask me questions about anything, hop on over to my Facebook page, which is Kat's Creations Wreaths on Facebook. And then we go live every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes, and I'm trying to get some time set aside to where we can start doing some pop-up videos. And the only way that you'll be notified for those is if you're on Facebook and you are liking and following my page. Facebook will automatically notify you when we are going live, just like we are today. So if you guys haven't done that, if you could do me a favor and please do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and pivot you down so we can go ahead and start our tutorial. So hang with me real close. I'm going to drop this camera down. I had tightened the mount a little bit, so I think we're good for our design tutorial. So I'm going to do this one all in black. This is going to be a black and white monochromatic design. So those are going to be the only colors featured in this design. Hi, Arvina. How are you? Hi, Charlotte. She's like, oh my God, I found you live. So happy. Well, welcome and happy to have you here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to finish out this last section here. So I've already done the first 5, so I'm going to show you how we wire together a Dollar Tree wreath frame, and this one is in a gold tone. So we're going to take our pipe cleaner using our weld marks. We're going to take this one and wrap it around the 2 closest rings to the inside. I call those rings 1 and 2. Then we're going to take our pipe cleaner and we're going to wrap them around the outside 2 using our weld and this as a center point. It doesn't have to be exact, just somewhat close. And then we're going to do that on the opposite side. This way it gives you 6 on the inside, 12 on the outside, for a grand total of 18. And as we do this design together, I'm going to be removing the 6 on the inside. So as I'm laying my deco mesh in them, I'm going to go ahead and remove the extra pipe cleaner. It's easier to do that if you kind of know what your design is initially and you know you're not going to be using the inside 6, then you can go ahead and remove those as you go along. But if you don't know how you want your final design to appear, I always say leave them on. So this way you don't have to be like, oh, I wish I should have left my 6 in the middle. I wanted to add some things there. So I know the design in my head that I'm going to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to be using what's called border mesh. So border mesh is just this. It is a solid color in the center, and then usually you have like a fancy foil or a pattern on the outside. And this particular type of mesh is used for a focus on the outside tips. We're not really focusing on the main color in the center. We kind of want the edges to kind of pop with a ruffle method. So that's what we're going to do today. We're taking all 18 pieces and cutting those to 20 inches. And I'm just going to uncurl this one. We're going to go against the curl. So it's easier just to find a weighted object, place that right on your cutting mat, and then you're going to just picture an imaginary line right up the center, and you're just going to start pulling that mesh towards you in nice even patterns. And you can see it's kind of curling. This is my last piece that I cut on the roll. Now we're going to take those finished edges and we're going to place those towards the inside. I always start on my middle section, but we want to make sure that that is, you know, centered, that we have an even amount on the bottom as we do on the top. And then we're going to go ahead and twist our pipe cleaner on there. Okay, once we get it twisted on about 4 or 5 times, we're going to snip off the remainder. And I'm going to just simply tuck that back on the inside. Now, the middle section, the middle pieces, the ones that are on the inside, those are going to basically act as a filler for the 2 outside pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this one and show you how we're going to lay those in. So just consistent method, pull the mesh towards you. I just use the weighted object to keep it flat. Now this one's going to overlap the top one. So I'm just going to place it right on top. Grab my pipe cleaner, couple twists, and then I want to grab the outsides right where the edges are. And I like to just bend them slightly downward. That just helps keep the edges from fraying a bit. And then that is how we're going to lay this. Now, if you notice, we're getting ready to go into the left-hand side of the section. And to guarantee that we have good coverage, what I do is I take the outside piece of the one that we just laid in, because there's no center section, kind of overlap that on the inside, so that when we come in with our next piece, it's going to lay down right over the top and give us better coverage. Because right now this is pretty see-through. But that's okay, because we're not focusing on the center. We kind of want the edges to be our decor for this wreath. So again, open them up, roll the very edges over, top and bottom. Okay, and then I like to take my pipe cleaner when I'm done with it and move it to the left. That way it doesn't get in the way of me laying in my next piece of mesh. Hi Pam, I have your plum fall wreath tutorial on TV. Wow, and you're live on my iPad. Oh, I loved that plum fall wreath. That was so beautiful. One of my favorites. Okay, so now we're going back to the center. So I want to pull my mesh away that is there from the left side, going right down the middle. Remember, we're not keeping the inside ones. So I want to give them extra twists. Snip that off, push that back down. And because this is the middle, I need to make sure that the one on the left is overlapping the center section so that we get good coverage for both. You can see that this next one on the right for that section, I just usually push all those to the side so they don't get in the way of the other one. Now we're ready to go ahead and lay in that right side piece to the section. See what happens if you don't place a weighted object in there? It just kind of wants to roll up on you. There we go. Nice even ruffles. Gonna lay that right on the inside. 2 twists. And then we're fanning these out again so that we have good coverage on the opposite side for this pipe cleaner. And then we're gonna tilt to the left. Make sure you roll your corners or edges. This was all cut with a wood burning tool as well. Okay. Go ahead and gather. And then right over the top of this one, because then these two will kind of overlap. 2 twists, fold your edges down just on the corner, and then push our pipe cleaners to the left. That way they don't get in the way of the other one. So now we're coming in with a center. I like to save my curlier pieces, the ones that are closer to the center of our roll, for the middles, so that the outside ones will lay more flat. And we're going to lay this one right in the center. Give it a couple twists. We're going to remove that pipe cleaner. Tilt that down, up and over. Remember, you always got to take the one on the left and overlap that to the one in the center, just so it lays more efficiently. And this way, when your outside pieces are all focused, you'll not have any issues when it comes time for you to put your ribbons in. You'll be able to see all the ribbon locations. Okay, let's do the same here. This particular mesh is from Craft Outlet. So if you go to craftoutlet.com, you can look up border mesh in virtually any color combination you'd like. And so this particular mesh is designed where you really want the focus on just the outside edges. Again, overlap the outside left piece for the next section. Okay, so that that next piece will lay in nice and smooth. So what are you guys all working on right now? I just thought that June would be the perfect month for some everyday wreaths, because we're always focusing on all the seasonal items, and then we always forget everyday wreaths. So sometimes those are what customers are looking for, is a wreath that can go up every single day and not just on those seasonals. Don't get me wrong, seasonals are definitely the bread and butter for our business, but I like making those designs that the customers can use to switch out or have as many options as possible. Like the one that we did in our private group, the red and white vintage Victorian, could be used for Valentine's Day, it could be used for Christmas. Just so many different possibilities for that. So I'm always on the hunt for designs like that that can be used for a multitude of holidays, because then that makes that a great value for the money, because you can use it in multiple holidays. That weather on your way, thunderstorms right now. Oh, tonight and tomorrow. I saw that, Linda. I was like, I spent 2 hours in my garden yesterday, because here in Washington we have not had rain for like close to 3 weeks, and so I'm out there soil testing my fruit trees in the orchard, you know, making sure, because a lot of people said that the peach harvest last year was not very good because of the drought. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to stay on top of that. So I'm out there watering, making sure each tree gets like 5 minutes of water. And then there was no rain in the forecast yesterday. And then all of a sudden I opened the forecast today. Wouldn't you know it? Rain is in the forecast for tomorrow. So I don't know. That's Washington weather for you. Don't believe people who say it rains all the time in Washington. No, it doesn't. It rains more than it does other places, but you still have your sunshine. You still have your perfect spring days. So don't be misled. Okay, now we're going to grab our inside one. It would be wonderful it rained today. There are some people who honestly could not handle rainy days as often as I would love to see them in Washington. My husband being one of them. He's like, I don't like it when it rains all the time. I'm like, hello, we moved to Washington because we wanted the rain. He goes, yeah, but there was one time where it rained for like a whole week. And I was like, and it was the greatest week of my life. So I am the type of person who gets excited when it's cold and rainy, and it could be that way forever. You know, I appreciate the sunshine more when it does rain, because I, get out there and get in my vitamin D dose for the day. I am the opposite of the people who say they can't handle rain all the time. It makes them depressed. There are those of us that live for those days. I am one. And I pray when I get my home in heaven that God puts me in the middle of the forest and it rains. Just rains. Rains and rains and rains. Okay, we're down to our last 4. I have a question for you guys that are tuning in. Do you prefer I've been doing I've done 2 different variations of lives. One where I just show you how to complete one section, and then I have the rest of the wreath built, and then we focus more on bow building and adding embellishments. And then we do ones like this where we start from the very beginning and I walk you through all the steps. Do you have a preference for one live versus the other? Would you prefer me to have everything done with the exception of one section? Because I had a lot of people who were like, wow, am I like really that late to your live? I missed everything. And I'm like, no, that was just like the new live that we did where I do the entire wreath, add all the deco mesh in, put all the ribbon tails in, and then I walk you through like building a single section. Janie says I prefer this way. Sharon, welcome from the UK. She says I like watching both. Okay. I wasn't sure. So what I might do is just do it this way on Facebook Lives and then maybe edit it down for people on YouTube. Because YouTube people just want to get to the end. Tell me your materials, show me what you're doing, and then show me how it's made. So, okay. Well, that helps me plan for what I want to do. And I can't wait. I want to show you guys something too. We're going to incorporate into next week. So I'm super excited to share. I just got this in this morning, so I'll share that. Okay, last one. That's always the hardest, to squeeze that last piece in. But look at how gorgeous that is. Yolanda says, I like it when the base is already completed, but I agree both ways are good. Okay, so maybe we'll mix it up. And I love chit-chatting with you guys and talking to you about what's going on in your world. I know there's some people who hate that. They're like, hey, I just want to do the wreath thing and don't want to hear you talk about your personal life or what you're doing. Just show us what you're doing and get in, get out. So, all right. We are officially done with the outside. So this is what border mesh looks like on a wreath base. So see where the focus is on that black and white. You have it focused to the outside edges, and then you have it all bundled in the center. Okay, Janie, that's interesting. She says, even for YouTube, my notifications ding about 4 minutes after you start. Okay. Interesting to know that. Okay. So let me show you guys what the sign's going to look like. This is a sign, and it is from Craft Outlet. This one's a little bit different. You've seen the other ones that say Home Sweet Home. There's another one that has a different quote. On this one, it says, a house is built with board and beams. A home is built with love and dreams. So this is why this would make a really good wedding gift or a first time, like someone who's buying their new home. Right, Nancy? Nancy says that's why they have the replays. You can fast forward what you don't want to see or hear. I agree. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, that's what I do. If I'm like, okay, I just need the technique, fast forward. So, like I said, you can find this on Craft Outlet. Okay, let's go ahead and add our ribbon tails and half bows on this one. So, don't want to lay it on top because you don't quite see it. So we're going to do a black and white with a white, it's black with a white stripe in the center. We're pairing that with a black and white Swiss dot. The 2.5 inch ribbons are cut to 14-inch pieces. The 1.5 inch pieces are cut to 19 inches. So this is one pairing. And then the other pairing is a white polka dot on black. And then we're pairing that with a white stripe with a black and white gingham edge. So these are going to go alternating every other one all the way around. So, and people always ask, well, why do you always fold your ribbons in half? It's so I know where the exact center is. So this way, when I put it in, my tails end at the exact same spot. So that when we place that inside like this, I know that both of my edges are exactly the same. Now the 1.5 inch half bows are where you take your dovetailed edges, you bring those together, you go up about 2 inches from the top and pinch in, okay, 2 inches, literally on the mat. We lay that straight in the center, give it a couple twists. You're going to open the loop. As you can tell, we've got wrong side and right side. We're going to flip the wrong side to the right side, and then you can see both ribbons there. Now I am going to cut down my pipe cleaners to about 1.5 inches. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pairing that with black styrofoam. They call these scatters and fillers. People call them vase fillers. When you take a piece, or when you take your glue and put a little ball on the end, you're going to take it and slide it right onto your pipe cleaner and poke it inside. And then we are going to pair that. I'm going to alternate the sizes. We have white. We're going to do the same thing. Little ball. The pipe cleaners go right into the styrofoam nice and easy. So that's going to be our little decorative touch for the outside of each of our half bow and ribbon tail combinations as we go all the way around. So we're going to squeeze in. Going to make sure that I can see all of my, there's that one, push it that way. One complete twist. And then you'll always have to pop your ribbon tails out because they want to kind of stay concave when you first put them in. So just put your fingertips under them and pop them out. So here's this one. Trim that down. I'm going to open these, open up my half bows, one dot of glue, slide that on the tip. I'm going to vary these from small to large, and then we'll slide this one on so that we have just a nice visual interest going on around that. Hi Jane, thanks for coming and watching from Ohio. Hi Rosario, she's watching from Ireland. Welcome. Okay, let's get that one turned around. Pop those out. So the ribbon, where it all came from. The black and white polka dot is from 5th Street Studios. They are on Etsy. So when you see the label, it says shop5thstreet.com. They used to have their own website and they just went back to Etsy full time. So now it's 5th Street Studios on Etsy. If you want to purchase the ribbons from them, they are usually my go-to source when I need ribbon and I can't find it at the like craft outlet or the Wreath shop. I will pop over there because they generally have most of what I'm looking for and they ship it out really super quick. So that's always a win for me because I don't like waiting. Okay, let's do a big one. And then these scatters and fillers. The black ones I got from the Dollar Tree. Sometimes you can find them at Hobby Lobby in their party section. And then here you can just kind of decide, hey, what do you want to see on the outside? I'm going to focus a little bit more on the white. The rest of the ribbon, the black with the white stripe is from Craft Outlet. The Swiss dot is also from Craft Outlet. And then the gingham with the white stripe is also from 5th Street Studios. And then once we finish here, we're just going to be adding a bow with our sign. And that's the only embellishment I'm doing. There is a little touch of like greenery on the wreath. You could incorporate some greenery. Away from the black and white design, but you can definitely do that. The black and white designs seem to do really well. I don't think I have any. I'm looking around. I don't think I have any black and white left. I think I've sold out of all of them. There we go. Had to push my glue stick back in. And we're going to go with a little one. Okay, there's this one. If you guys can, I would appreciate it if you keep my dad in prayer. He found out from his doctor he has to go and have a operation. So at 80, those operations are generally anything but like, what do they call it? Like, you know, it's an easy in, easy out. There's always complications that can develop. So he has a hernia that he needs to get treated so that he can get back to quality of life. He's very concerned about that being at his age. So I was just telling him, Dad, you're going to be just fine. My dad is not the typical 80-year-old. My dad is very healthy and very fit. So I don't see my dad as old at 80. Oop, I needed to snip this off first. So I think that sometimes people just need a positive person in their life that can just help keep them focusing on you're going to be just fine. I said, just think about all the things you'll be able to do, and your quality of life will greatly improve. Yolanda, I have to organize my ribbon. I try to separate by them. I should give you guys a tour of my shop. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. I'll take you on a tour of how I have everything organized. And it's kind of chaos right now. I really need to start doing like what Yolanda said. I really need to get in and start looking at what do I have. Because when we moved here almost a year ago, I packed for moving. So there's still some things that I have not been able to find. And I really just need to go through those. Okay. Trimming those off. And flipping these over. So we're kind of doing embellishments at the same time that we're doing this. It's so nice to hear kids playing outside. Summer is here. We had an incident yesterday where we had deer because we had our orchard gate open because we were watering and making sure the hose could reach all the way to the back end of our orchard. And we had deer come in late last night, and here the sun doesn't set till 9 p.m., which means just a little after 10 p.m. it starts to get dark. So you can actually accomplish quite a bit out here after 5 o'clock. So we were watering our trees, trying to wait for the majority of the sun to go down. And our deer wandered in through the gates of the orchard. And so I was kind of yelling at Steve. I'm like, hey, the deer are in the orchard. Because we don't want deer in the orchards because they start to strip all the leaves and the berries and everything off the trees. And they were just like, ooh, look what we found. So we're trying to shoo them out of our garden yesterday. Or not the garden, but the orchard. And redirect them to go to where we normally feed them. So that was our event for yesterday. And we're doing a big one. And that's all done. Okay, got the next set. I find too that coordinating my ribbon like this, having it prepared, just helps keep me focused on the design so I don't get mixed up with, oh no, I grabbed the wrong ribbon now that I cut my pipe cleaners too short. So I don't know what we're going to be working on this weekend. We have to tomorrow take our older cat to the vet. We found out that he was diagnosed with diabetes. So now we're going to have to learn how to give him insulin. So we're like, okay, we just move through it like we would if we had an adult that was dealing with diabetes. And it's sad how some people would put their animal down because they don't want to deal with the aftercare, which is just, you know, you have to give them their insulin shot so that they could have a good quality of life for however long we have him. And at first he wasn't doing too good yesterday. So we start the insulin tomorrow. So we're hoping that'll turn him around and kind of give it back a little bit of what we're used to seeing in his personality and his how he deals with us on a day-to-day basis. Like right now, he's always at the water bowl. Okay, I think we just have, yes, we only have 2 more to go. And then we can work on our bow. Well, this was a totally last minute design. And sometimes what I do is when I'm focusing on designs is I might come across a sign and I'm like, oh, that would be a pretty wreath. So I throw them in what's called project bins. They're like, this is your next project. Just like that. I think there's 3 more because I'm looking at 2 more 1.5 inches over there. So there's one that's right in here. It almost snuck in. I tried to hide. Oops. Alrighty. What time of day did the sun go down in Southern California? I would say by 7:30 or 8, Linda. So this is unusual for us. Like, you know, when we're going out to dinner and it's like 8:30, I'm like, oh Lord. It's still, it feels like 6 o'clock in the evening. But it's not, it's like 8:30. So it's really throwing us off on all the time. Try to get that one under. Let's see. I think I missed someone's. Hi, Anne. Anne from Illinois. Welcome. Okay, 2 more to go. Yolanda says yes at 8 p.m. See, and that feels normal to me. But at 8 o'clock, it feels like 6 here. The sun's still out. And in the morning, the sun comes up at like 5:15, which is like, it's hardly even, it's not even 8 hours of darkness. So that's taking some getting used to. This is our first summer in Washington. So snip those down. Let's add another large ball. Nope. Keep filtering to the bottom. Okay, this one. And we need a small white. You can always find the small ones. It's hard sometimes finding the larger, because I keep these in with all my fall and Halloween colors for obvious reasons. Black and white and orange. Last one. Okay. Let's squeeze that in. Right in here. Okay. And then we'll build our bow, add our sign, and we will be done. Let me see. I'm going to pull this one off because this, oh, it should have been this one. Okay. So I'm going to pop this one back on. I wasn't watching how I was doing these, and so I have large, small, and a large. Let's pull these off. I changed the pattern because having them even should have meant that we're going large, small, and it didn't. So now I'm getting them back in line where they need to be. And put the smalls back on. I had like two smalls next to each other. There's that one. Back over here. Put another small back on. Now, it makes sense. Some people might have said, oh, well, it doesn't matter. They're all together. I'm like, no, just the small little things they mean a lot. So I'm putting my white ribbons on the top. And now let's build our bow. Since that's all done. Alrighty. Let's pull our ribbon over. I think we're going to do the polka dot, then this, and then the two that we're going to introduce is our houndstooth and our, they call this like a pearl ring. So let's mix these up a bit. I think that's how I want them to go. Kind of like that. Trying to break up all the dots with the stripes. And I think that'll work. So let's pull these over. And so the pearls is also from 5th Street Studio, and the houndstooth is also from 5th Street Studio. I think I actually ordered their black and white ribbon assortment. So they just sent me a wide variety of 2.5 inch and 1.5 inch. So we're going to dovetail our ends, which is just bring your wired edges together. And then depending upon how high up you want your V to be into your ribbon, determines where you start, but you always go down to the wired point. So just like that, and that's how you get those perfect dovetail edges. We're going to do 10 inches in, and we're going to twist and place it right inside our Bodabra. So we have right side, wrong side. We're going to bring this up and around, kind of guesstimate where I think 5.5 is. Almost there. It's just a little on the heavy side. We're going to do the same so that we have 5.5-inch loops, but a 10-inch tail. And so I always bring it back down to my 10-inch line. Again, pull that out, and then we're back out. Make sure that's there so that we have a full 10 inches here. Go ahead and do dovetail again. That one's down. And then we'll get our other 2.5. We will dovetail the end on this. There's just way too much stuff here. We're going to measure out 9.5 inches for this tail. Pinch in, twist, place right on the inside. And this time we're going to go 5 inches for our loop. And so I'm measuring it from where it's pinched to the edge of the outside. So putting it on that, stretching it out, making sure it stops right at that 5-inch line. Up and over. Same thing. Back out to 9.5 inches. And dovetail the end. Yolanda says, you're in Washington? I live Washington and Oregon. Yeah, I lived in California for 58 years. This is my first year to Washington. We came up here on vacation about a year ago, fell in love with it, decided we needed to move here. We literally went home. On our way home, we were looking at real estate, and we were calling real estate agents saying we want to move to Washington, and we're looking at homes. How do we do this being in California? Literally going home that day from our vacation. That's kind of like my husband said as we were pulling into the high desert. He's like, this just depresses me. I have to get out. So it's just one of those things where you're like, you know when you're meant to go. So we're doing a 9-inch tail, and we're doing 4.5-inch loops on these. I always thought that I would live in Oregon, but then when I came up to Washington for the first time, I was like, okay, changed my mind, want to live here. Plus, at the time, my husband's corporate offices were based in Washington, so it was an easy move for us, even though he worked remote from home. They were still willing to make that concession and allow him to move. So move we did. This is going to be 8.5 inches, and it's also going to be a 4.5-inch loop. So because we've already measured the bottom one, all you have to do is put your fingers in and then pull to make sure your loop sizes are exactly the same. You could still do it the other way. This just makes it a little easier. But you still have to measure your bottom one Dovetail that edge. That one's done. And then this one is going to be an 8-inch tail, but a 4-inch loop. So 8-inch tail, twist, place on the inside. Four-inch loop. And it's kind of small. Up and over. That one's good. 8 inches out. Dovetail the ends. And our last one is our pearl ribbon. Let's see if we have enough on here. We'll see. I don't think so. So we'll keep this because we could use that for a tail. So we'll add this, add that one. Gotta go rescue the pin because a little ball came off the end. So dovetail end. This one's going to be 7.5 inches with a 3.5 inch loop. Okay, there's that one. 3.5. And then back out to 7.5. Just like so. Okay. Those are all in. Let's push this one back on top because it's still viable ribbon. If it was less than 14 inches, I wouldn't keep it. I just toss it. But there's enough there that if I was making tails, I don't want to toss that. There we go. All right, black pipe cleaner. We're going to pick everything up. We're compressing as we lift it out of the Bodabra, so we have our little sandwich. I'm just going to reposition my hands so that I can drop the pipe cleaner right on the inside. Snug, tight hold at the bottom, and then just rotate your stack. Okay, this we do not need. That we will still need. Okay, now we're going to fluff. So here we go. Since this bow is going to hang at the bottom of our sign, we're going to fluff this one a little different. So this is a 24 by 24 by 1 inch thick piece of lumber that was pre-cut at your local home improvement stores. I added 1.5 inch to 2 inch C-hook. It just screws into the center. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook my pipe cleaner through that C-hook so that it holds my stack from sliding. And then what we're going to do here is we're pulling all the tails down to the bottom. Since it's going to be a bottom bow, we're going to fluff it. You make it the same way, but you fluff it a little bit differently. There's that one and that one. So now we've got all the tails to the bottom. And so we're going to take the top two, we're going to separate those. opposite sides, just like we do when we're fluffing. Okay, from here, I'm going to kind of go with a Swiss dot in the center. So we're going to angle this one down towards the bottom. And then our bottom bow, still the same way, we're always working opposites. So whatever I do here, I'm going to do here. What's up?
Just want to come out and say hi to everybody.
Steve's here. People think...
I just got off a call, so.
People think that I've had so many people ask. They're like, what happened to Steve? I'm like, he works. Yeah. He works from home, and then he's commuting now, so.
Hi, everybody.
Steve is here. Okay. So, again, we're pulling everything to the bottom. And then you can still put your curls back in. Just like so. I'm just going through, finding them all. You really want to make sure on your inch and or your 2.5 inches, though, you're really giving those, you're opening them up. Okay, so there, it looks a little weird. Let's pull these around a little bit more. Just make sure everything's open. Okay, so this is our bottom bow. It looks a little different until I do this. And then you can see your bottom bow with all your tails hanging down. Okay, then I'm going to slide this off. And we're going to go ahead and attach our slip. So we need to prep our sign. So I'm going to flip this over. I already have my business card added to that. Snip those off. We are going to use our staple gun. Thought I had more. There we go. I need pipe cleaners. So I'm going to bend those into a V. And we're just going to place these right on the outside. 1/4 inch staples, because our sign is at least 1/4 inch deep. We're going to twist those so they don't pull through. Same thing on the opposite side. Twist.
Somebody was talking about what time of the day did the sun go down?
Yeah, I already got that one.
California.
Hi, Gail. You're leaving in the morning. Where are you going? Did you see all the people say hi?
Yeah. Hi,
hi, Gloria. Okay, we are going to...
Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Gloria.
Because our bow is going at the bottom, our sign needs to be up on top a little bit more. So I'm kind of taking the roof peak and making sure that kind of falls in line in between, like a couple of my loops. So right about there, this gives us a nice place for our bow to wind up.
Gail's going to Hawaii.
Oh, that's right. It's the last
Stop by
trip.
Portland and pick us up.
Right. She'd be like, meet us there. If only. I forgot. You're leaving for Hawaii. How exciting. Okay, so we're going to pull this over. Like I said, I wanted it centered so that the peak goes in between. I'm going to make sure that my loops are all out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and put that in place. Go over here to this side. I'm just pulling back a little bit of my mesh so that I can get to my frame. So especially mesh that I kind of go right over the top of. And I've got a crossbar, so this makes that a nice place. I'm going to pull that down. Give it a couple twists. Make sure our loops are out of the way. Okay. There we go. And then we're just going to take our edges of our borders mesh. We're going to kind of come up with that a little bit, just so we can see some of that mesh all the way around. There's that piece. There we go.
I thought it was like those houses.
The house wreaths. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to fix this because this is bugging me. I just don't like that look right there. So the easiest way is to find the border mesh that's right in the center, and we're going to straighten that out. So it's kind of just curved in there a little bit. Pop that piece back in. There we go. Hi. Thanks for stopping by.
Happy weekend, everybody.
Okay, now we're going to place our bow right at the bottom. Got a center. Feels like a bow bouquet. You want to make sure. I'm going to pull this forward, and I want to make sure where I want my bow to wind up. I don't want to cover the door, but I also don't want it too low that it just doesn't feel like it connects, like it ties everything in. So I'm going to try it here. I think I've hit that one. And then what I want to do is I want to take my loops and I want to just kind of position things around. Okay, this one needs to come over here. We're gonna move those around a bit so we can see all of our ribbons represented. And if you have if your mesh is like pushing your bow up and out of the way, just go underneath and just move your mesh. If you need to, you can tuck it underneath your sign so that you can get everything in the place you want it to be. Okay, just like that. Okay. Let me look. It looks okay. What do you guys think where that's at? It's super nice. And I think we'll take a big white bowl and we'll place that in the center right here. And that'll kind of tie all those little pieces in together. So we'll put this last piece in. Go ahead and add that right to the center. I will pivot you up so we can see this on the door. I have a black door, but we'll flip it around. So I'm gonna lift you up. Hello. A little bit higher. I just don't want to hit the lights, because then the lights throw off like the weird white balance. So give me just 1 second. There we go. Okay. So I'll take this one off. We will place this one on so you can see what it looks like on our black door. So as you can see, it looks very elegant on a nice black door. Sometimes people would be like, black on a black door, it's a little too much. It actually looks really nice on a black door. So there is that. That is our black and white design on a black door. If you want to see what it looks like on the white door, we can flip that around. Let me make sure I have all my little half bows are out. Past that. Take that back in. There's that. And I'll show you what it looks like on the white side. So there's black. Let's take this off. We'll take this one off the white door. We'll flip it around. There's our white door, so we can see what it looks like, a black wreath on a white door, and there you have it. That's our design, all summed up in a nutshell, just like so. What do you guys think? Okay, let me give you the link really quick, and then I want to show you guys what we're going to be working on next week. Here's a couple coming attractions, right? Let me do this really quick. Let me pin this. There we go. Okay, so I want to show you what we're doing. So I got this in the mail today. So we're gonna get this one built next week. So this is from, it's PNW, which is Pacific Northwest Recent Things. And she makes these adorable wreath attachments, but check this one out. Let me pull. Oh my word, that just looks amazing. We're gonna be putting him on a wreath. So this is my first wreath attachment. So we're going to be putting Sam the Eagle on a wreath. We're going to be building that next week. And that's super cute. She sent him to me. So we're going to be using him on our wreath. And then, right, Gail? We're also doing 2 more dragons. So we're going to be using the gold. We're going to be doing Gold Dragon. And this is the one I wanted to do for the longest time. We're doing Black Dragon. So look for both of these. These are both going to be next week so that you guys can watch us put those together. So I'll be prepping all the materials for those. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. You can follow me on YouTube if you'd like to find a quick way to get to all the tutorials. Just go to YouTube, Cats Creations Race. You'll find all my tutorials there. If you'd love to join my private group, I'd love to have you. Also at the website, catscreationsandmore.com, you can purchase the wreath that we made today. Give me just a minute and we'll post it. And then anything else that's available for sale, or if you'd like to join the private group, you can do that there as well. You'll always get better prices on the website than if you shop in my Etsy shop. So check them out there. And then I think that's all I have for you. So have an amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye for now, everyone.